Hey gorgeous! Imagine being part of a movement that empowers women to lead without limits. Welcome to Leadership Unscripted. Lead without limits on Unlimited TV 247.
In this powerful series, seasoned women leaders in civic and political leadership share their stories of triumph and perseverance. From labor leaders to movement makers and business trailblazers, these women will inspire and motivate you to take your rightful place in leadership. You'll hear from women who have broken barriers, overcome obstacles, and achieved greatness.
They'll share their experiences, insights, and advice on how to lead with purpose and passion.
So young women, don't miss out on this opportunity to learn from the best. Tune in to Leadership Unscripted, Lead Without Limits on Unlimited TV 247 YouTube channel. Like, share, and comment on our videos. Subscribe now and join the conversation. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and empowered to lead without limits. Watch Leadership Unscripted now on Unlimited TV 247.
Good afternoon, everyone.
You will be the last.
All protocol duly observed. My question, I am Ambassador Eniola Cole. My question is this. One of our speakers on the panel had mentioned how we can get it done in a systematic fashion. And one area that is a lacuna is the area of the wards. We keep saying go to the grassroots to get into politics, but what is the structure for ensuring that there are women even at the ward level, whether it's the council or in the LGA or in the LGC? What is the structure for getting women in there? We mentor students from universities and we have a pool of young women who are interested, but how are we going to get them in there? If at the top we don't have so many women, it means that there is a systemic problem from the grassroots, and we must ensure that we treat it from that angle. Start getting women into the wards, into the LG, so that when it's time for elections, you have people to elect. If not, at the top there will be nobody. So please, let's also, as we push this bill, ensure that we get young women in from the grassroots, and ensure that we also do not jettison God, because it will be an act of God for us to get this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Deryck Fritz, and I am the director of the Integrated Electoral Support Group of the UN Transitional Assistance Mission in Somalia, also known as UNTMIS. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I've been working in the field of electoral assistance for over 30 years. I've worked in many UN peace operations and election projects, both with the UN but also with other international organizations, trying to advance democracy since the end of the Cold War. I mentioned electoral assistance, so I'll try to explain a little bit about what that means, because it's not a term that many people are familiar with. Electoral assistance is really about providing assistance, technical assistance, financial assistance to governments and electoral commissions around the world to improve their electoral processes. I grew up in a small twin island state of about 4 million people, that's Trinidad and Tobago, where I was a good student, particularly at math, which I eventually studied at university. My parents were civil servants, and because my father, worked in the national airlines, we had the opportunity for discounted travel tickets. So I started traveling at a very young age, and I've always had a fascination with the outside world. However, my journey in electoral assistance began quite by chance. After completing my MBA in the US, I started a job back home. This is way back in 1992. And while I was there, I saw an advertisement for UN volunteers in the newspaper, because of course we didn't have internet in those days. So I saw this ad for UN volunteers. They were recruiting for volunteer position in several fields, but the one that caught my eye was positions for teachers in math or sciences, which I thought that I was qualified for because that's what I had studied. I also felt that I could do some good, so there was a bit of idealism there, and combine that with my sense of adventure and the love of travel. I thought, yeah, this would be perfect. So I applied, and then I got a letter a few weeks later asking me if I wanted to go to work on elections in Cambodia. Well, I hardly knew anything about Cambodia other than I knew there'd been some kind of civil war and there'd been a lot of refugees around the world, but I jumped at the chance. So a few months later, I was in Cambodia, and that place, some of you might know, is as far away from my country as you can possibly get. It's literally on the other side of the world. But it was a life-changing experience. I was part of a larger deployment of 700 volunteers working on the Cambodian elections. And it really was something the UN itself had not done anything like that previously. So it was fascinating. We were part of a mission called UNTAC, a transitional mission, peacekeeping mission, which had a mandate to do many things, among which was elections. At the end of all of that, so I literally learned elections that way, through that mission, on the ground. And ultimately it was a success. The civil war ended, there were elections, and then there was a political transition. And that basically has kept Cambodia at peace for over 30 years. So when I look back at that one, I would say it was a success. I had a couple more UN volunteer experiences in Mozambique and Angola, and then I eventually became a UN staff member. And since then, I've worked in about 20 countries working on elections with varying levels of success, one can say, because not everything goes right, but the majority have. One standout experience I had was working in Kenya after the 2008 post-electoral violence, where I was part of providing support to a African Union mediation team led by Kofi Annan. And my job was to provide options and technical advice to the mediation team, because the UN was supporting those mediation efforts in terms of options to how the dispute over the electoral process could be resolved. That too ended successfully. So it was an experience working with Mr. Anand that I was particularly proud of. But looking back, I would say that my experience was not a path that was clear from my childhood. There are some people who knew what they wanted to be from early on. I never had a specific career goal in mind, but I continued to, in my studies, study the things that I loved. So it was easy to apply myself and to succeed academically. And in that way, I acquired the skills and education required to give myself options for opportunity. And once I got those opportunities, I made sure to make the most of it. And especially in the face of, those who might doubt whether or not you can succeed. So my advice to young people in particular, and women especially, is to work to ensure that you acquire the necessary skills, experience, and also the networks to give yourself options, because I think that's really critical, so that if one door closes and you might not be aware of the opportunity that exists when one door closes. You know, when some doors close and we think, oh, it's all over, but another door might open simply because you've gained all of these skills and experience, and also you have the networks to be aware of some of these opportunities. So I think if you do that, you know, doors will open. And I would say that when those doors open, you should grab those opportunities, walk through that door with confidence, and then demonstrate your competence. So I wish you all the best of luck.